This is the VoiceOver Marketing Podcast, episode number 38. Hello and welcome to this episode of the VoiceOver Marketing Podcast. My name is John Melly, and this is the podcast dedicated to teaching in-depth and advanced marketing strategies for people in the voiceover and audio production professions. My goal is to help you make more money by showing you ways to leverage your time, charge more for your talents, and allow you to spend more time doing the things you want to do in your life. Hey there, it's John. How are you? Thanks for spending some time with me today. I do appreciate it. How's your summer going? I hope you're enjoying yours. I have been enjoying mine. Mine's been pretty busy. I wouldn't say it's been relaxing, but it's been busy, and the weather's been great. And by my calendar, we still have about a month to go, despite the back-to-school ads and the old Farmer's Almanac making winter weather predictions, and too soon for that, and the Halloween decorations. I'm not big into Halloween. A lot of people love Halloween, and Halloween's fine for kids, and I loved it as a kid, but adults in full makeup and costumes looking like Dracula or some little red devil in tights and a pitchfork, it's just plain creepy to me, I guess. I don't know. I've always gone in a direction contrary to most folks, and that's really what this episode's all about, which I'm going to explain to you in a minute. Before we dive in and just give you an update, the number of downloads, unlike the stock market, these numbers keep going up and up and up, with 31,787 downloads of all the different episodes from all around the world. Thank you so much. And thank you if you have just recently joined the VoiceOver Marketing Podcast group on Facebook. Also have a group on LinkedIn. Search for VoiceOver Marketing Podcast on LinkedIn. And if you are a LinkedIn voiceover talent, would love to connect with you over there. Before we dive into the content, I just want to give you a heads up that this episode is sponsored by Audible, where you can get a free audiobook from their catalog of thousands of audiobooks. And I've arranged for you to get a free audiobook from their catalog. And last episode, I mentioned this affiliate and the sponsorship. There was some confusion about the URL that I mentioned. Now, to get the free audiobook, you need to go to vomarketingbook.com. That's VO for voiceover, marketingbook.com. And I had some people asking me, well, John, is this just for a free voiceover marketing book? And no, and I can understand why people would think that. But that's just the link that I give you so that Audible can track where people are coming from. And then Audible will send the podcast a referral fee. So when you use the URL vomarketingbook.com, you can get a free audiobook, anyone that you choose from Audible's catalog, for free. And you'll also be helping to support the podcast. And I think that's pretty darn cool and pretty darn generous of Audible, if I do say so. So please support the podcast. Please support the sponsor. Go to vomarketingbook.com and sign up and get a free audiobook. And thanks to Audible for making that available. So today's episode, will Uber technology kill voiceover? Kind of ominous sounding, isn't it? And I put a lot of thought into this episode. I've been putting my thoughts together on paper for some time, and I've been wanting to share this with you. I just want to give you a heads up that after I conclude my thoughts about this topic, I am going to present an opportunity to you to join me behind the scenes on a project to help solve the problem and concerns that I'm about to share with you. It's a digital course that you can take with me, and I will be perfectly clear about when I tell you about it, so stay tuned to the end of this episode to find out about it. Okay, so today's episode, will Uber technology kill voiceover? How did this come to my mind? How did I start thinking about this? This episode's about how technology has impacted our economy and different sectors of the economy in ways that we never could have imagined before now. And this is not a criticism of technology, and this is not a criticism of any kind of business. This is what happens. But I just want to point it out because it's important that we are aware of this as business owners. I've often said that voiceover is a fun business, but it's still a business. And we need to treat it as such. Dan Kennedy, who's a mentor of mine, has often said that it's good for business owners to have what I think he calls it, a healthy sense of paranoia about business and threats to your business. And so it's from that mindset, if you will, of just kind of always having your mind open to opportunity and mind open to the different things that can impact your business, that these thoughts that I'm about to share with you, that's where they come from. So I mentioned in the last episode that Ann and I were in Seattle, Washington in July, and that's where we went on vacation, and we had a great time. We went and saw the Space Needle. We went and saw the EMP Museum. Definitely a must-see. If you haven't been to the EMP Museum in Seattle, check it out. It's right next to the Space Needle. All kinds of cool exhibits there on Seattle area artists. Jimi Hendrix, Nirvana. There's a huge guitar collection there. A sound exhibit where you can go in and record different instruments. You can sing, and then they have private jam session studios, and then you can record your jam session, and then you can go into another studio and you can master the recording that you did in the other studio, and you can come up with a finished tune. Very, very cool. A lot of neat stuff there. Chuck Jones, the animator for all of the Looney Tunes cartoons, Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote, Chuck Jones. That was a great exhibit. Loved it. So if you are in the Seattle area, check that out. Did all kinds of stuff there. So we did a lot of walking around. We did not rent a car while we were on vacation. And we had an appointment in the evening to watch the sunset at the top of the Seattle Space Needle, which was really spectacular. Instead of taking the bus back to the hotel, we hailed a cab. Now, you can ask Ann, but I always ask people how business is. I say, so how's business? It's just one of my questions. And I asked the cab driver, I said, so how's business? And he says, it's bad. And I said, well, why? The weather or because it's a weeknight? And he says, nope, it's because of Uber. And I said, really? Now, I like technology, but I really haven't used Uber. And it's nothing against Uber. It's just most of the time when Ann and I travel, we do rent a car because we like the flexibility of that. But we decided this time not to. I drive myself around town to and from work and for my errands, or if I'm going to use a bicycle or I'll walk to something. But I never use a cab here in the Boston area. So I'm not really familiar with Uber, but I've heard of it. But the cab driver told us that his business was down 80%. Crazy. Yikes. I mean, that made me sit up and take notice. And I said, really? And he says, yep. It's people just use the Uber app and they get a ride. There's no cash. He explained the whole thing. And he says, the younger folks who are using their smartphones, they're not even thinking about cabs. This is not a defense of the cab driver by any means. It just really made me sit up and take notice that, wow, out of nowhere, 80% of this guy's business shifted to another place, another part of the economy, another service provider. And I was flabbergasted by that. And so I said to myself, wow, these people never even saw this coming. Their whole industry changed literally overnight. And they woke up and were like, what happened? And there's a good book on this thing. I think it's called that deals with this phenomenon or topic, and I think it's called Who Moved My Cheese? Anyhow, 3 days after I got back from vacation, there was a story in the news about cab drivers in Cambridge, Massachusetts. To protest the lack of city oversight on Uber drivers that cab drivers are subject to, the cab drivers, to protest all this, they went on a one-day work stoppage to protest this. And, I'm sure they said, oh, yeah, well, we'll show them a thing or two. We'll stop driving cabs just because we want to protest the fact that the Uber drivers don't have to follow the same restrictions that we do. And that was really dumb. And the Uber drivers were thrilled to step in and fill the void. And my advice to the cab drivers is you need to come up with a better plan than annoying your remaining customers and driving them to your competition. Now, I said this before, but I'll ask you this question. Do you think the cabbies, the taxi cab drivers, maybe the other professional limo drivers, do you think they ever expected the internet to impact their income like this? These companies have to come up with a plan. The industry is being transformed. I mean, it's changed already. But who would have thought? Food for thought. I'll give you another example. So, I work at the radio station here for CBS in Boston, and I'm loading commercials in for the upcoming weekend, and I start to hear these commercials for Bic pens going back to school. And they've got these teenagers or tweens sitting there going, hey, Bic pens are great because writing is really good for your brain. It helps you retain information, better reading comprehension, and you retain more information. Plus, you can read better, too. Penmanship is so important. Oh, wow, that's really cool. I'm going to get a pen and start writing again. I mean, that's a gross exaggeration, but that's pretty much what it is. And then they've got this website. It's called Fight for Your Right. And of course, that's Write, W-R-I-T-E. And they've got experts discussing studies about how handwriting is linked to better learning, how writing and learning are wired together in the brain, and how kids who aren't writing literally have brains that are wired differently than most of the people who listen to this podcast who grew up going to school learning penmanship. I mean, they talk about how penmanship inspires creativity, hand-eye coordination, better reading comprehension, and retention of information. But never mind the economy. Technology is impacting how our minds work. Literally. I mean, they've done MRI scans on kids who have grown up using smartphones and tablets and all that kind of stuff, and how their hands, different parts of their brain light up when they're doing activities versus folks like my age. I'm in my 40s, and I grew up, and we even had the penmanship lady in elementary school who would grade our penmanship, and that was always fun. Anyway, setting that aside, but, I take notes on a piece of paper still, and my brain is literally wired differently than my nephew's. But the question I have to ask for you is, why do you think Bic got involved in this? And I'm sure their motives are more than just helping people learn better, although I laud them for it. I mean, it's a problem. But I'll bet it's because they're not selling pens like they used to, and it's back to school season. And in fact, I was talking with a friend of mine. I was telling him about this very situation and talking about prepping for this episode of the podcast, and he told me he knows someone who's an executive at one of the major office supply stores, if you will, and they're seeing a drop in sales in notepads and pens and binders and other things people used to buy for back to school season and just for general office supplies. In fact, I just got an email from Staples today, I think. I get coupons from them. But their email today, they were trying to let me know that they offer small business loans. So even Staples is looking for other sources of revenue. Now, why? Well, first of all, it's just good business practice to offer more products and services to your potential customers, get them coming back and buying more. That's just good business. But I'm suspecting also that they're feeling impact on segments of their business model from technology. Yes, they sell tablets and other, a lot of technology, but I'll bet you the hard stuff like the pens and paper clips and papers and notepads and all that kind of stuff, I'll bet there's been a drop. I mean, nobody's buying typewriter ribbons anymore, right? They're buying toner cartridges and all that kind of stuff, but the typewriter ribbon business is gone. My family used to be in the office supply business. We were a mom and pop local office supply store and a greeting card shop. And when Staples came into town, we experienced that because it was the race to lower prices. And they could sell office supplies and, pens and copy paper and all that kind of stuff, they could sell it to customers cheaper than we could buy it from our wholesaler. We had to carve a niche. We had to look for other things. We had to be fast on our feet to move to other ways to keep money coming in the door. So that was a change in the retail environment, going to the big box stores for different things. Local hardware stores took a hit when, Home Depot and Lowe's kind of came on the scene. But a lot of them are still thriving through niche services and great customer service. There are a couple of hardware stores in my area that are doing great business. But businesses are starting to look for other sources of revenue. Why? Technology is impacting sectors of the economy in ways that we never considered. So I offer this for your consideration. And the question is, could this happen to VoiceOver? Could some app or some new way of using technology impact the VoiceOver business? And I'll argue that it already has in some ways with the pay-to-play sites. And again, I am not disparaging them. They serve a purpose. I have gotten business and clients through some of the pay-to-play sites. But they have changed the industry. People used to go out for auditions to recording studios and all of that, drive around town and do auditions around town and things of that nature. Now people can record from their homes. Technology has impacted that. But can it impact it further? How about voice synthesis? I believe that is a very real possibility. And I've talked to people and they're saying, it's not decades from now, but years from now, not too many, that computers will have enough processing power to emulate human speech. I mean, look at Siri. I mean, we were all excited to learn about Susan Bennett, and certainly nothing against her accomplishments. I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity, a great story. I mean, it's the dream voiceover gig. I mean, who wouldn't want a chance like that? But what happens when it's not a person like Susan providing the voice that they parse all the different phrases together, but it's a computer voicing the copy? And here's something. That copy is being simultaneously translated into multiple languages. I think it's a real possibility. And now, I don't want to sound alarmist, but I do want to get you thinking about it. I mean, that's my job. That's what this podcast is all about. Kind of looking out on the horizon here and seeing what could be coming down the pike. And just as an aside, the intro to every episode of this podcast states the mission, which is, my goal is to help you make more money by showing you ways to leverage your time, charge more for your talents, and allow you to spend more time doing the things you want to do in your life. Notice I didn't say allow you to buy more stuff to have in your life, but rather allow you to spend more time doing the things you want to do in your life. See, I view money as a tool. Money is not bad. Money doesn't care who owns it, but money's just a tool. And so I think we need to be thinking about the future and whether we could be the next sector or a sector of the economy that's affected by technology, even more than we have been up to this point. I mean, the cabbies didn't even see it coming. Boom! Overnight, this guy's lost 80% of his business. The medallions in New York City get auctioned. Some of them go for like $1 million. And the cab drivers use these medallions as their retirement plan because they buy them at a certain level. They drive the cab for however many years that they do. And then when they're ready to not drive a cab anymore, they release the medallion out for the auction. And whatever the difference is between what they paid for it and what they sold it for, it goes toward their retirement. And a lot of these folks are seeing the value of those medallions drop. It's kind of crazy. This is not a criticism. This is just an observation of what's happened that I'm sharing with you. And I think it's something that we should look at. And this is why, I've said many times that every business is the same. And a lot of people think that certain marketing techniques can't apply to them because my business is different. My customers would never go for something like that. Excuse me, I got to take a drink. It's been a long day at the microphone, and that tasted really good. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So my customers would never go for something like that. Well, the cab drivers probably thought, well, my customers would never go for something like that. Yeah, sorry, they did. And there's a problem. The same thing applies for bad stuff. I mean, if we have the mindset of that'll never work for my business, or my business is different, that's the more important one. If we have that mindset of, well, that's cab drivers and they're different from voiceover. They are, but they aren't. So what do we do about it? Well, a main theme of this podcast has been to showcase and discuss ways to take you out of the voiceover commodity markets, to put you in places where there is no competition, where there are no other voiceover talent. And you're asking, where is that, John? Well, we've showcased several guests who've talked about creating their products and services and making them available for sale. When you own products that you control and you sell them, you have assets that increase the value of your business. This is going to be very rough math. But let's say that you have a product, very conservatively, earns you a very modest $10 every month, or $120 per year. Now, to earn that kind of money from interest in a savings account, you'd need $10,000 if the interest rate was a little over 1%. Now, interest rates aren't that today. They're a lot less than 1%. So if you think about it, if you have a product that's earning you $10 every month, that would be the equivalent of having $10,000 in cash sitting in a savings account earning a little over 1% interest. If you're earning less than 1%, then multiply that 10K by however many times, and that gives you the asset value of that little product that earns you that very modest $10 every month. The other thing about products and services is that they're the perfect employee. They don't call in sick. They don't take vacations. They don't need a benefits package. They don't argue with their coworkers. They just make you money. You need to market them, but they make you money. Products using your voiceover skills are perfect because you hire yourself. You are the voice of the product. There's no competition. There's no one arguing with you about your fees. You do need to wait to be paid, but you get paid over and over and over and over for doing the work once. And there's no technology that's going to bump you off the project because you control the production process. I'm not saying stop auditioning. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be working on other projects. You should. But let's fold it into the mix. Let's start creating our own assets. I'm already doing it. I'm speaking to us as an industry. Let's go back to the very conservative $10 a month model. Instead of just one, what if you had 10 products, each producing you about $10 a month? That's an extra $1,200 a year. You see where I'm going with this? Here it is. In my opinion, and this is an important episode, this is a wake-up call. In my opinion, you need to be creating and marketing and selling. They're different. Marketing and selling are two different things. Marketing and selling your own products and services. That is the ace up your sleeve against the voiceover commodity markets, against technology making you the next Uber victim. Nothing against Uber. Now, let me stop there. That's the food for thought portion of the program. I mentioned earlier about an opportunity to get behind the scenes with me on how to solve this problem. So I'm about to do something that I do not do very often in this podcast, and that's offer something directly to you for sale. Now, I always disclose partnerships and affiliates, but this opportunity is going to come straight from me. The marketing content I share, the information, the tactics, the strategy, it's all going to come direct from me. Now, if you're the kind of person who hates a sales pitch, then hit stop now, because this opportunity will require an investment, not only of money, but some of your time. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause now. And if you don't want to hear it, then no harm. And I'll never know that you opted out. And I will see you in the next episode. But if you're still here after the pause, I'm going to assume that you're interested, which is really cool. And I'm going to tell you what the project's about and how you can be a part of it. And then you're going to learn how to start doing this for yourself. Okay, so I am going to pause now. I'm pausing. I'm pausing. Okay. Take a drink. Okay. You still here? Cool. Okay, so what is this? I'm going to take people who enroll in this course step by step through the process that I use to create my own products that I offer for sale. In the past, I've done mastermind groups, and I was talking about doing another mastermind group earlier this year, but there were different kinds of limitations of the mastermind group that I really won't go into here, but suffice to say, I decided, you know what, I'm not going to do a mastermind group this year. I want to do something different. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the step-by-step process that I use to create products that I sell. And I'm going to show you how to come up with your own ideas so that these ideas will be unique to you and no one else. And that will take you out of the voiceover commodity markets. There's not going to be any competition for your voiceover services. Now, that's not to say that the products that you come up with, that there may not already be other products that are similar, but that's okay. That's actually a good sign, because that means that other people are marketing and making money from it. So when you see competition's good. It means that there's a market for it. I mean, how many restaurants are there? Well, people got to eat, but people like different types of cuisine. So maybe you have your own little cuisine version of whatever this project will be. I'm going to show you how script ideas are developed. I'm going to show you how we decide to produce the audio program. I'm going to show you how to get artwork completed for your programs. I'm going to show you how we market and promote the product and where we market the product. Now, if you enroll in the program, I will tell you what my project is. If you don't, then you're not going to hear about it. But you're going to see it completed from start to finish, and you will get a copy of my completed product. If you're interested in learning more, you don't have to do anything right now other than go to the show notes for this episode. It is episode 38. Just go to the show notes for episode 38 at voiceovermarketingpodcast.com. Episode 38. Click the link next to the terrible selfie that I took of myself in the studio the other day. I actually took my iPhone and held it over my right shoulder and tapped my thumb onto the iPhone, hoping that it would come out well, because I wanted this to be a look over my shoulder project. So look for that picture in the show notes. Click on the link, and it'll take you to a page where you can enter your name and email address. I want to make this important point. It does not matter if you have already signed up to receive other emails from me. If you want to learn about this opportunity, you must sign up for this particular list. This will be an exclusive list just for this project. I'm not interested in spamming anyone. So that's why I'm having this very exclusive list set up just for this. I'm going to test this out to see if there's interest. So if you are interested, go sign up at the link in the show notes for this episode. It will get you on this private email list. Do it now before you get distracted by something else and forget about it. I know what happens to me is I listen to podcasts in the car, and I go, I got to go check that out. And then I pull in or to wherever it is that I'm going. I hit pause on the podcast, and I go about my day, and then I hit play on my way back, and I go, I forgot to sign up for that. And I got to make a note to myself to do it. Do it now before you get distracted by something else. When you do, I'm going to follow up with you with more information about what the time and the financial investment will be to get into this program. I want you to have all the information you need to make an informed decision. So that's it. Sign up. I hope you do. It's going to be a lot of fun for everyone, and I know it'll be fun for me too, because the cool thing is what we're going to do is we're going to test things out to see what works and what doesn't. And you're going to get to watch this whole thing happen. And I'll be learning right along with you. But this is going to be very cool. So go ahead and do that now. Go to voiceovermarketingpodcast.com, episode 38. Click the sign up link to sign up for this list. And I will talk to you next week. Take care.
Our program originates in the Boston studios. We hope you'll join us again. Until then, we bid you au revoir, keep your chin up, and the best of luck.
Well, that's it for this episode of the VoiceOver Marketing Podcast. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to it at voiceovermarketingpodcast.com so you'll get notices of new episodes, and please share it with your friends and colleagues in the voiceover world. Also, it would be a huge help if you'd like this podcast and rate it on iTunes to help keep it near the top of the list. Feel free to share your comments and questions about this episode and future topics you'd like discussed at voiceovermarketingpodcast.com. And if you'd like more information on one-on-one coaching where we focus on growing your business, feel free to drop me a line at my cyber assistant's email address at mike@johnmelly.com. Thanks for listening. Now go out there and share your voice with the world.